Well, the morning started with Luke Bryan giving you all the glory you could possibly ask for. The only expert on the stage to pick Georgia. And right now, I cannot imagine the amount of partying Luke Bryan is doing. And in fact, this guy inspired us. He inspired us because he's got the mustard. We got the mustard. It's the college football show. I'm Jason Fitz. He's AJ McCarron. What are we doing? What are we doing, AJ? Come.
No, that's all you.
Oh. There's like a chunk at the top.
Yeah, hey, you should have to.
I love it.
You should have to eat all that after picking Tennessee. When I tried to lead you to the promised land and tell you the Georgia Bulldogs are the best team in the country. Georgia.
Mustard goes great with crow, and I am eating a ton of crow because, my God, I was wrong about that. There's a delightful little treat. I don't know why people complain about this so much. I'm kind of in for it. Talk for a second, AJ.
Oh, that is just atrocious. It makes me want to throw up.
It's so good. It tastes yummy. I want to get more of it. I keep spinning this thing down to try and get more mustard at the bottom. No, we're not doing this.
Stop with the mustard.
I'll get to you the update. It's 27-13 right now. Georgia's beating Tennessee. And I'm really eating mustard because it's all I can afford now because I lost everything. My entire wallet, my entire bank account. It all went away because I decided that not only could Tennessee cover in this game, but on Tuesday when we were hanging out rankings reaction, I predicted Tennessee would win. I got aggressive, and my bank account is now only going to be stuck with the generic version of yellow mustard. This, by the way, came from
just spotlight right here, baby. Spotlight right here. That's why he's eating the mustard. I tried to tell Fitz last week on the rankings reaction show that
so much.
Hey, but he didn't want to listen. Him and Christine were arguing. Oh, Tennessee, the strength of record and all this. Listen, they still got to go out and play. I don't care how many algorithms you want to run. And it is showing tonight, America, and I love it.
Yeah, it's 27-13, and I'm just gonna be honest with y'all. Like I have some cash riding on a couple of different point spreads here. I really need a trash touchdown. So if you hear an explosion at the end, it's because I keep waiting for Tennessee to try and give us a trash touchdown. But realistically, this game has been about, I think, the mistakes Tennessee has made. We'll get you the highlights in a second, but frankly, AJ, what has stunned me, we were just talking as we came to air. 3 times in this game, there has been Hendon Hooker has had a wide receiver open deep, could have been a touchdown, overthrew all 3 times. The number of penalties, the number of false starts on the offensive line in the beginning of the game, even all the way into the second half, atrocious. The amount of times that Tennessee looked tight and lost in this game, it was a reminder that, you can say been there, done that. It just felt like Tennessee wasn't ready for it.
Well, I'm 100% with you, but I tell you the key to this game that a lot of people aren't talking about, and hopefully they do after this game, is what if from a defensive standpoint, and we talked about it last week on this show, on the rankings show, and when we talked about Georgia's defense, we said if there's one place they struggle is getting to the quarterback, right? And what did they do from the jump tonight? They didn't always get a bunch of sacks, but they were in Hendon Hooker's face all night long, causing throws to be off target, causing him to have to rush on a couple throws. On the pick earlier in the game down the right sideline, he was so worried about holding the safety and getting the ball out quick, he didn't get his eyes there fast enough to see what type of leverage his receiver had on the DB. Excuse me. And if he would have gotten his eyes there quick enough, he would have saw that the DB was playing on top of his receiver, and he would have thrown a back shoulder ball. But instead, he tried to get it out quick, let him downfield straight like he was throwing it to the breadbasket of the DB for an interception. So I give all the credit to Georgia's D-line tonight. Putting pressure on Hendon Hooker, getting hands in his face while he's trying to throw, messing up the throwing alleys. They played lights out, and that's really what helped Georgia win this ball game.
And real quick, I'll say credit to Georgia. For a lot of years, Georgia fans are used to losing these sorts of games. Kirby Smart came in with a great game plan. They knew how to execute it. This is a reminder of what a national championship means for Georgia. They're more comfortable in these situations than they used to be. This was a different version of execution. They're going to take a knee. The game is over. It will be the final will be a 27-13 win for Georgia. We'll get you those highlights, but Tennessee, not the only top 5 team that looked bad today, because Ohio State overslept for their matchup against Northwestern. We picked this one up. Northwestern with the direct snap to Evan Hull. Hull bounces outside, takes it to the end zone. Wildcats lead 7-0. But you kept thinking, okay, Ohio State's going to get it going. Well, it wasn't that easy. Emeka Ibuka with the carry gets down the sideline.
That was a great run.
A sneaking suspicion. We'll be looking at this play again later when we judge some of the top plays. Also, then getting in, Williams goes up the middle, bounces outside, wins the race to the pylon. That made it 14-7. 14-7 in the third. And we're used to seeing him pile on at the late portions of the game, but even that didn't happen. Williams punches it in from 2 yards out. Ohio State wins this game 21-7. I want you to know a couple of important stats about this game. 76-38. I'm going to give you those two numbers. 76 total passing yards for C.J. Stroud. 38 total completion percentage. For the first time in his career as a starter, he did not throw a touchdown in this game. He ran for more yards than he threw for. Ohio State's offense looked confused from the outset. Northwestern looked like they were out pushing them. It was wild, AJ. This was a terrible effort for Ohio State and the committee. It'll be interesting to see what they think of it.
Listen, after this showing, because this is 2 showings against where it feels like they've played down to their competition, right? They did it against Iowa, and I understand they scored a lot of points in the end versus Iowa, but for a while, you remember we spent a lot of time talking about it that day. It was a close game. Iowa's defense was just out there the entire game because their offense couldn't do anything at all and couldn't score any points. So they ended up, wearing them down. But listen, I understand the weather was insane. It was over 40-plus miles per hour winds. It's hard to throw the ball in that. But the thing that worries me, and they ran the ball better today. Mayan Williams ended up with 26 carries for 111 yards, 2 touchdowns. But the running game hasn't been great. And when it comes to their passing game, and I keep talking about this, a lot of their passing game is big shots. It's not sustaining drives. It's almost, about the same as Tennessee's, to where it's big play after big play, and they're putting up a ton of points. So today they weren't able to get those big shots because of the wind, and it really hurt the passing game and their offense. Their offense was pretty much, just stale all afternoon.
Yeah, and I get the wind argument before everybody tweets me and says I'm a moron. Thank you very much. I understand the impact wind has on the passing game. I also think that when you're Ohio State and you just told the committee, the committee every week is going to look at things by the eye test like everybody does. They're also going to look at things like style points. I mean, margin of victory is not technically a portion of this, but when you watch this game, if you watch this game, I didn't think Ohio State looked like the commanding number 1 or number 2 team in the country against Northwestern at all.
Absolutely not, Fitz. Like, they were playing a 1-7 Northwestern.
Yeah.
And this isn't knocking Northwestern and their fans, so don't come at me.
No, you can be great fans and still, Northwestern's a bad football team.
They're a bad football team. And if you're the number 2 team in the country and you're saying you're hands down a top 3 team, your job is to go in and manhandle that team. And it didn't happen today. Ohio State did not look like the number 2 team in the country.
Well, another team that needs style points every time they can get it is TCU, because the committee had them ranked shockingly low for a lot of people. We're going to pick this up with Davis returning for the Horned Frogs. Finds space near the sideline. Look at this. He just pushes his way outside. Swiggity swooty, he's going for the penalty. Had to get it in. Had to get it in. Comes back through. I just love creative running like that to just find his way around everybody. It's a beautiful return. 82 yards. Takes it to the house. Now we pick it up. Tyler Shuck going deep down the sideline. J.J. Sparkman.
Great catch.
That is a great catch. Tech leads this game 17-13. Now we pick it up. TCU trying to make something happen.
Get in there.
Miller runs through a tackle. Miller, a tough runner.
Yeah. Kendre Miller is he's been huge for their offense.
Now Max Duggan about to zip it to Davis.
This is a unbelievable throw right here.
Small window, great throw, right?
And pressure was in his face. I don't even think he could finish his whole arm. That was awesome.
Duggan's not done, though, yet. Duggan digs deep. Gets another touchdown pass there. That would do it. TCU, and I will say holds on here because TCU holds on to beat Texas Tech 34-24. That makes them 9-0. You know, I think you got to look at Max Duggan, who, again, 12 of 23, 196, I think it was, 2 touchdowns. There was good here, but not great. TCU scored at least 30 points in 9 straight games. That's the 3rd longest streak in FBS. But that did not come easy. A lot of that came in the 4th quarter.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I love TCU. Like, Garrett Riley has this offense just fun to watch. They score a ton of points each week. The worry I have for TCU as a team is their defense. Now, their defense played better today. Didn't wait till the second half like they have the past couple weeks where they've fallen behind double digits. But they did fall behind. Yeah.
And that's a crazy thing. Like, they're 3-0 now when trailing in the second half, which is the best at FBS. But they've trailed in the second half 3 times. And this, like, coming after the committee did, I didn't agree with the committee putting TCU so low. I expected TCU to come out with the thunder of the gods and be like, up yours, we belong in the top 4. And instead it was like, we'll get there.
Well, that's why I was arguing. I think TCU is a better team than Clemson. And I think anybody would be able to make that argument, and it makes sense for people. Like, just off the eye test alone, if you sit down and watch a game and you watch TCU play, and then you turn around and flip the channel and watch Clemson play, you're going to be like, there's no way this TCU team is not 4th and Clemson's not 7th. Like, from an eye test alone, Clemson does not look like the same team that TCU does.
Well, TCU is going to have to win with style every week. Georgia did exactly that. I still got a mouthful of throw. I mean, it's game day. Tennessee visiting Georgia. Edwards with the ball. Ball knocked out early on. And suddenly you get a fumble recovery on the opening drive. Leads to a Tennessee field goal, though. Their offense was already a little out of sync. They're up 3-0. Stetson Bennett. Back pass rolls right. Look at that move. Somehow the refs didn't call this a touchdown initially, and it took what felt like a 4.5-hour review. That's not accurate.
And then they were also reviewing the targeting right there.
Right, 100%. Now we pick it up. Bennett.
Double move, baby.
Oh, wide open. Good catch, lad. McConkey wide open for the score.
He's a baller.
Georgia goes up 14-3. Bennett now finds Rosemary Jack Saint. Always tough for me to say.
Unreal catch right here.
Yeah, absolutely
Unreal.
Beautiful job. I loved on the broadcast, they said, did he get 1 foot in? Then they all realized that was NFL good. And that suddenly made this thing a blowout. 27-6. Hooker to Hyatt. Big play there. You think maybe they're going to try and get back into the game. Next play for Tennessee. Jalen Wright rushes it in for the end zone. Chipping away, but the fact is their defense was able to hold Georgia again to get to 3rd down. But as was the case for this entire game, 3rd down was a problem for the Tennessee defense. The Tennessee secondary was exposed. Hendon Hooker didn't have anything that looked easy through the process of the game. And Stetson Bennett looked a lot like he did week 1 against Oregon, completely in control of an offense that absolutely kicked the snot out of Tennessee. I couldn't have been more wrong about this game. I will gladly eat the crow loudly. I put my cash on it. I put my pride on it. I was wrong in every possible way. Georgia's going to be number 1 this week. And, you know, AJ, I said week 1 that what really struck me about that Oregon butt whooping was that Georgia just had like we're national champions and nothing phases us swagger. Man, they had that again today.
Well, I mean, you can tell that, listen, for a team that lost 7 or 8 starters on defense, and to come out this year and their defense to be playing the way they are is unreal. I mean, to be able to reload like that's awesome. Stetson Bennett was back to himself. Their passing game was back to what they were early in the year, and that's what helped them, right? Because they jumped out to this big lead right before the rain and storm started to come in, which really helped them in the end because, hey, now we can just run the ball. Let's pound it for a little while, run this clock down. Our defense is playing so well. Tennessee's struggling to sustain drives. And it worked out huge for Georgia.
Well, and the very first week that we did this show together, I asked you about what it's like to come back when you've won a national championship because Stetson Bennett felt like a different human being this year. And we forget at times that Stetson Bennett is the same age as Lamar Jackson. There's very little that phases Stetson Bennett at this point. He's seen a lot of football. Georgia came out with such control, and I looked at it and said, okay, I now understand what the path is for Georgia. What I don't know for Tennessee now is now what? Like, if you're Tennessee, you got to hope that there's so much chaos that somehow you can, you get a little style point touchdown at the end, but 27-13, like, that probably ends any college football playoff hope you have probably died today.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that maybe helps them is if Georgia plays Bama in the SEC championship and then Georgia just blows Bama out. Yeah. Because then it says, hey, well, we played the SEC champion way closer in the end, even though it really wasn't that close as, 27-13. They got a measly touchdown at the end.
And the committee factors that, like, game control is an actual metric that they study.
If you sat like we did and watched this game, that was a
Georgia was in control the whole time.
That was a butt whooping. Like, I mean, Georgia, and they had multiple turnovers too, which is insane that they controlled the game that much and still had as many turnovers as they did.
Well, it speaks to who Georgia is now, but it raises some college football playoff conversation because, look, there is so much, I can't say this loud enough. We are, as a college football community, obsessed with the playoff, and that's fine. It's a huge part of it. I don't ever want to reduce the other matchups that matter so much. Like, winning a conference championship is significant. Whether it's significant to the college football playoff or not, I don't control that. So I don't want to minimize any of what's left in front of us. But you do have to look at it from TCU's standpoint and say, hey, you got a shot to run the table and be the Big 12 champ. If you're Clemson, you have a shot to run the table and be the ACC champ. Either Ohio State or Michigan is likely to run the table and become the Big Ten champ. So all three of those teams are going to sit here and say, well, an undefeated conference champion has never missed the college football playoff. So, like, it becomes really weird because if I had to today bet, if I had to bet our bosses, Jimmy Patero, the head of ESPN, if I had to bet his house on Tennessee versus Clemson, I'm betting on Tennessee to win that game.
100%.
Will the college football playoff committee put Tennessee ahead of an undefeated Clemson team? I don't think so.
Well, it's going to be interesting, how you just talked about the control of the game and they factor that in. Do they let that slide a little bit and say, hey, well, they only lost by 2 touchdowns. It was bad weather. It was at Georgia. Like, do they start making up a couple of excuses for Tennessee to keep them in? And they basically, take Tennessee from 1 to 3 or 4. And put them ahead of Alabama and bump Alabama up if they win tonight against LSU to 5, Tennessee at 4, Clemson to 3 if they win. So it's going to be interesting to see, but there's no way, I don't care if you're an SEC fan or not, you hate the SEC, you can't watch this whole season and not say that Georgia and Tennessee are 2 of the best 4 teams in the country.
Well, I totally agree with that. I would also say Alabama is obviously part of this conversation, too. They're playing LSU tonight. Alabama has to win out the rest of the way, right? They can't slip up at all.
100%. But I want you to look in the camera, Fitzy, and tell America what you said
there's a chance
last week.
There's a chance.
Just to repeat it.
The SEC could be left out of the college football playoff.
Repeat it.
The SEC, the worst case scenario for the SEC is that. Oh, look at this. Look at this.
Listen, Fitzy has gone back to Crazy Town, people.
Look,
back to Crazy Town. Alabama wins the SEC championship. Mark it down. They will be in the college football playoffs, 1,000%.
Okay, it depends on what happens.
Man,
right?
That was so much fun.
It depends on what happens. Like, right? I mean, the SEC right now. Well, first of all, what I said on the show is that an SEC championship champion could be left out. I stand by that because right now, if you look at the SEC West standings, I mean, you think Ole Miss gets in if they win the SEC?
If they're a 1-loss team?
Okay, now, the other side of it is what happens if we end up with the 2-loss team from the West in the SEC championship game, which absolutely could happen. There's enough chaos left.
You're saying Bama's going to lose to Ole Miss?
Well, or LSU tonight, or Auburn.
Listen.
I mean, the Auburn one didn't feel good coming out.
We're going to get you checked out. All right, he's got a doctor's appointment. We might have to cut this show short tonight.
Oh, man. Look, as somebody that does like to party, I'm completely sober right now, all right? Completely sober. Look, it's a stretch, but it did get us worked out on the college football rankings reaction show, which, by the way, on Tuesdays you should check out. Hang out with AJ, me and Christine Williamson as we break down everything that's happening. This is my just reminder to everybody. My favorite college football team's UNLV. I don't think they're really in the conversation for the college football playoff. I just want chaos. So whether that means 3 teams for the SEC or no teams for the SEC, those are my 2 favorite scenarios. Because either way, it makes you guys yell and scream, and I like everybody else being miserable. They're not miserable at Oregon. Oregon taking on Colorado. Colorado is a miserable football program right now, though. I'm not even going to hide it. Bo Nix completes pass to the backup O-line. Got a fixed 6 right there, made it 7-0. Now, Nix, we're going to see that again. There is no way this play doesn't come up, and holy cow, because Bo Nix out there throwing and catching.
Dude is balling. And he's balling on the road today, Fitzy.
Which shows you how bad Colorado is. Noah Sewell, by the way, the linebacker, ran in for that touchdown. Oregon pulling out all the stops of creativity. Not sure why you burn those plays in a game you don't need them, but Nix also decides here, you know what? I'm going to run for one. He's the first Oregon player with a passing touchdown, receiving touchdown, and rushing touchdown in a game since Marcus Mariota did it in 2012. There you go.
We're in for 2
36th total touchdown on the year for Bo Nix. That passes Drake May at North Carolina for the lead in FBS. Oregon absolutely rolls. No shock there, 49-10. Significant, though. I mean, number one, I want to give Bo Nix the same love. 20 of 24, 274, 2 touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns, a receiving touchdown. The transfer portal changes kids' lives, and I will say this until I'm blue in the face as we watch Hendon Hooker compete for a Heisman, although that may have gone down in flames today, and we watch Bo Nix do what Bo's doing. There are so many examples. The transfer portal gives kids opportunities to go where they can succeed.
How about this? Hendon Hooker was probably number 1 on the Heisman. He's not after today. C.J. Stroud, possibly number 2. He's not after today. Who does that bump into the conversation? Blake Corum?
Blake
probably.
Corum for sure, yeah.
I would say Max Duggan should be in there.
That would be wild, but you're right. I mean,
Max has put up unbelievable numbers this year. He is balling.
You're right.
They're undefeated. And I would say it brings Bo Nix back in the conversation towards the back of the group. But Bo Nix right now, going into today, was 19 touchdowns, 0 interceptions at home, and then 6 and 5 on the road. But another, 5 touchdowns today, 2 throwing, 2 rushing, and 1 receiving. Like, Bo Nix is balling.
Yeah, well, the Duggan part of it is all the more reason TCU's got to find a way into the college football. Like, I have a hard time believing the committee, as much as I believe they do live in their bubble and they don't give a damn about anybody else, I cannot imagine an undefeated conference champion with a Heisman winner that's sitting at home in the playoff. They'll be like, they turn in the final rankings and somebody be like, excuse me, guys, you left TCU. You're going to put TCU back. Go back in there and work
100%. I think Max is, along the 4 and 5 range. Of that group.
Plenty of time left, though, if everybody else.
But, yes, I'm just saying, after today, with the guys that were leading the pack, it brings these guys into that conversation.
I've been hard on Bo Nix on this show every year. Every year I've had something to say about his road record. The fact that he did that today, man, kudos to that young man for getting it done. Let's take a look at Penn State, number 15 Penn State, taking on Indiana. And we picked this one up, Penn State up 14-7. Allen takes it for 6 yards. Penn State early, cruising 21-7 after that touchdown. Less than a minute left in the half. Nittany Lions are going to try and get more coming up. And in order to get that more, they go for a long field goal.
Got it.
Oh, that's work. Sir. Good from Fitty. Yeah, we're even going to show a replay of it because when you make a 50-yard field goal,
he squeezed it in, baby.
24-7 at the half. Allen decides, you know what? I'd like to do that again. Had enough. I mean, that running lane, my God. AJ could have run through that for a touchdown. I couldn't have. I'm too slow. But he definitely could have. 45-14, Indiana's basketball school. Penn State wins 45-14 14. Penn State just trying to lick their wounds. This is the unfortunate thing that happens when you're Penn State and you're clearly a tier below the best of the best in your conference. You beat up on the rest of them, and that's fine, but it doesn't really matter if you're not taking on the best of the best. Oh, no, coming because we have, on in studio, Alabama LSU is on behind us, and it looks like we just got a turnover. How are we feeling, AJ, about that one, by the way?
Man,
I know we have this graphic behind us.
We were driving the ball, too. Sorry, guys, in the back, but we were driving the ball, and as you can see right here, Bryce just unnecessary force right here. And
Bryce also gets full-on body slam by like an old Richard Dent style move. That's a very 80s football reference that most
ends
of you
up
aren't
throwing
going
a
to get.
pick in the end zone.
Oh, yeah. And then just like a big bro hug in that. Pick in the end zone. Game tied at 0. You're watching the College Football Show. He's AJ McCarron. I'm Jason Fitz. Unless you don't like the show, in which case I'm Scooby McGessa. You can have him, and he's Gary Stresky. We've got highlights galore that we've been getting. I want to get back to this real quick on Penn State, Indiana. Is there anything Penn State can do at this point that really changes the perception we have on there? That just seems like Penn State is who they are, right? Like they're a mid-teens team that,
Right. Listen, their rush defense is not great. Their secondary's better, but they got beat in both of their biggest games of the year and then got blown out versus Michigan. So they don't have much luck. But they got to find a way. Coach Franklin's got to find a way to get Penn State over that hump.
Well, speaking of coaches, let's talk about tonight's game, because if you're just now tuning in, you can authenticate in the app. You can watch right here. You can hang out with us all night. And obviously, tonight's matchup is one that if you're my age, old man, like with a walker, Florida State at Miami has a lot of significance. Both of these teams, follow me on this, are a little like the Knicks. Every time there's a free agent available in the NBA, I got to listen to Stephen A. try and cram that right up the Knicks, you know what. It's always, that guy's going to play for the Knicks. This person wants to be a Knick. No, the Knicks, if you're a player in the NBA right now, you haven't seen a relevant Knick team in your lifetime. So it shouldn't be any shock that nobody gives a damn about the Knicks in the NBA. I say this all the time on radio. Well, these are two teams that if you grew up watching college football in the 90s, in the 80s even, Miami and Florida State had a stranglehold on national attention. I mean, they were constantly national championship contenders. And AJ, in a world where at the time, unlike what we have today, you really only had the opportunity to watch these guys here or there, right?
Right.
Like, they stood above everybody else. Mario Cristobal came into Miami this year with huge expectations out of the gate. People were like, Cristobal's going to make Miami. And for 1 week, it was like, Miami's great.
Yeah.
They've fallen back a little bit. It's been up and down. So what have you seen from Cristobal in Miami so far?
Well, look, I love Coach Cristobal. Coach Mario was with me at Bama, was our O-line coach my last 2 years, my junior and senior year. So, listen, I think Miami has the right guy. He is a Miami guy through and through. He knows the culture there. He knows how to get the buzz back. And college football is better, right? Like, as a whole, when Miami and Florida State are good, right?
I agree with that.
And they make the ACC fun to watch, and it's not just Clemson every year. I mean, Duke and North Carolina, would you have ever thought about this? And I grew up a huge Miami Hurricanes fan. Ken Dorsey, Willis McGahee, Andre Johnson, the Phillip twins. I mean, like, the list goes on. Santana Moss. I absolutely loved them. And would you have ever thought that Duke and North Carolina would be more relevant in college football than Miami and Florida State?
And that's the staggering part about this, because I agree with you. I think Cristobal going to Miami makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I think you mentioned the culture, and I don't know that we pay enough attention to that sometimes. Like, you got to get the area. You got to understand not just the people behind the scenes. We spend so much time talking about money. Like, yes, you got to understand the donors. You got to understand the alumni. But you got to understand the fans. The fans got to have a relationship. The best programs are the ones where the fans and the coach feel like they're intertwined together and they get each other. That's why I thought when it worked with Coach O at LSU, part of the reason it worked there was because he felt like he got the region and the people.
Right.
I think Mario Cristobal has the opportunity to do that with the Miami fan base. And Miami has powerful collectives willing to spend whatever it takes. So I think there's a real opportunity. I just think it takes a little more time.
It's definitely going to take more time. And one thing Coach Mario has to figure out is every good team has a good quarterback, right? And for a while now, Miami hasn't been able to find that guy. And they thought Tyler Van Dyke was going to be that guy. Leading into this year, he was in the Heisman talk preseason and was going to be a high draft pick, and it just really hasn't panned out for him and for their offense. So from an offensive standpoint, they got to find a guy. They got to find a face of the program that can lead them back to the prominence that they were at and what people want Miami to be at. But it's gonna take some time. Hopefully, he has the support around the school and the fan base that allows him that time.
I want to quickly touch on Mike Norvell, the head coach of Florida State, and just say this. The chance to be around him when he was at Memphis, we were there for game day at the time. And I know Memphis well. I do a weekly radio interview with the guys in Memphis. I love that city. I love what they're trying to build with the football program for a long time. They invested in it. And what stood out to me about Mike Norvell is that when Mike Norvell was at Florida, was at Memphis, every year he looked at it and said, what's in my cupboard? How do I cook with it? So when he needed to have a pass-happy offense, he did. When he needed to have running backs make it to the NFL, he did that. He was the sort of guy that you really bought into because it felt like he bought into the kids and their strength. I think when he first got to Florida State, things went wildly off the rails.
Yeah.
He underestimated a lot of the relationships he was going to need to have. The question is, will they all be patient enough with him to rebuild that relationship and foundation? They are better this year than they were last year.
100%.
Everybody at Florida State needs to just take a big, deep breath and understand that what you were buying with Mike Norvell is the guy that long-term can be part of the culture you're creating there, and I think can be a very good college football coach. It just when you lose the locker room as much as he did in the first 3 months, it's going to take more than just one season to bring that back.
100%. And you know what really hurts Coach Norvell is the fact of last year they had some really ugly losses too, dude.
Yep.
Like late in the game, last-second Hail Marys. Like there was a couple weeks where they looked really, really bad. Like almost to the point where Coach was going to get fired. And there was a bunch of talk leading into this offseason that he was going to be fired. So they've definitely gotten better each year, and hopefully he has the time because I think he's a great coach, and they're steady improving. So
yeah, if everybody can be patient, both of these programs will be fine. Speaking of coaching candidates that we talk a lot about, Lance Leipold is one we've talked about a lot on this show. We picked this up. Oklahoma State taking on Kansas. Look at this. He's trying to get out there, not paying attention. Absolutely
Can't do it.
Beautiful pick by Kobe Bryant. Get another Kobe Bryant. I feel like there's so many Kobe Bryants now. It's hard to keep track of. Kansas gets the ball and the momentum. Jason Bean, truth, wants all the smoke. Bypasses the Cowboys secondary. Look at this. Bean. Beans. All right.
Listen, there's one thing he does well. It's running way more than the throwing side of it. Like he's an athlete, and it was fun to see him do that today.
Well, here, off the back foot while he's dropping back, throws it to Jared Casey. You mentioned athlete. I say this repeatedly. Lance Leipold wants a team where the best athlete on the field happens to be his quarterback, and he's finding a way to do it with his backup in. Look at this final score. Number 18, Oklahoma State, a team that needed this win. Absolutely shellacked by Kansas, 37-16. Continuing Kansas's sort of process of, man, they'll snake bite you. Like they'll take a good football team and they will just flat out beat a good football team. Lance Leipold continues to do a good job. Kansas now bowl eligible. I cannot believe we are saying that. Kansas will go to a bowl game this year. So my only hope is that I can get invited so that Coach gives me free swag.
Well, it was big for them, right? Because if with their upcoming schedule, this was the game with Spencer Sanders being out that they needed to win, right? Oklahoma State had multiple injuries. You're playing at home. You got a tough next 3 weeks. So it was awesome to see because it would have been very disappointing for them to start out 5-0 and not make it.
Oh, my God, yes. Let's take a look at Syracuse taking on Pitt at Acrisure Stadium, Heinz Field. I don't care what you call it. It's Heinz Field. Take the ketchup bottle down. You can't stop me from saying it. Ketchup and the mustard. Rodney Hammond with a 6-yard touchdown in the end zone. Pittsburgh goes up 7-3 with that run. We're going to pick it up now in the third quarter with 2 minutes left. Pittsburgh up 10-6. Look at that. Charging into the end zone. Pittsburgh going up 17 6 at that point. Remember, it's number 20, Syracuse. All right, so we pick it up here. Alexander gets to the backfield. Safety. Pittsburgh not able to, Syracuse not able to get anything going in this one. Despite their ranking, you can see the passing numbers. They were abysmal. I mean, abysmal. Syracuse looked lost. Pittsburgh gets the win 19-9. Pittsburgh in a bit of a rebuilding year this year when you consider the fact that Kenny Pickett is playing in the NFL, Addison's playing for USC. I thought that they would be able to just simply turn it around and pick up where they left off. They haven't, but they get a big win over Syracuse.
I got a question for you. Has there been a team this year in a 3-week span that has fallen off as quick as Syracuse?
No, I mean, honestly.
I mean, like, to go from a 20-point lead versus Clemson, you got the number 4 team in the country at their place, down by 20, and you lose that. Then you turn around and just get mollywopped by Notre Dame.
Mollywopped, I like that.
You like that?
Yeah, mollywopped.
Mollywopped. There you go.
Yeah.
And then another beatdown today. I mean, Syracuse Pittsburgh just put it on them.
And that speaks to something that you know more about than anybody, right? Like, when certain coaches are just capable, part of the culture of certain programs is like, all right, we shut that off, that happened, we move forward. It doesn't feel like Syracuse ever moved forward. It feels like the air went out of their sails and they're like, here we go again.
I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Like, I swear, I don't know if I've seen a team fall off the cliff as fast as Syracuse has the last 3 weeks.
Dude, I'm a Raiders fan. I watch it every single. I see it every single year. Wow, that's why I drink. We're going to get you now to Alabama LSU as we take the amount of tension that went to Tennessee, Georgia. I said this week on Spain and Fitz, a great ESPN radio show you should listen to Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern. We've spent so much time talking about Georgia, Tennessee, that we almost forgot Alabama was playing LSU. Like, that's wild to me how under-talked about this matchup between 2 top 10 teams has been. And we pick it up now, tied 0-0. Alabama with the ball deep in their own territory, 2nd and 10.
Yeah, I think part of it that it's kind of flown under the radar a little this week is the fact that, gosh almighty. I think it's the fact that LSU, for a lot of people, and I know we had, our thoughts on this, but we don't see LSU as the number 10 team ranked, number 10 ranked team in the country.
Yeah, I was surprised that they got that much love.
Oh, 100%. Like, listen, they've played well against Florida and against Ole Miss, but other than that, like, can you really say that they're the number 10 team ranked, in the country? Like, for me, no, but they're playing well right now. I mean, 0-0, 3 minutes left. And that crowd is going nuts in Death Valley.
I'm a little surprised because I talked to your guy, Trevor Maddich, yesterday. Yeah. He came on radio with me, and AJ works with Trevor and Matt Schick on Saturdays on ESPN Radio. And, what was funny is I asked Trevor, like, what's the thing that you're looking for in this matchup? And he kept saying LSU's wide receivers against a defensive, backfield that has not been particularly great for Alabama should leave the opportunity for points to be scored. I thought, if anything, we would at least get points out of this. And so far, you're right. The crowd is a huge factor for Alabama. This thing's zip, and, and right now it seems like points are at a premium early in the game, but still.
Well, I like that you talked about Bama's secondary, right? Because if there's one weakness they have, it's their secondary this year. The front seven has played well, really well at times. Well, yeah. But their secondary has struggled for whatever reason. And they've had the past couple weeks, they've rotated multiple guys, a lot of new guys, after the loss versus Tennessee, where they were just giving up bomb after bomb on top of them. So they were a different secondary versus Mississippi State the week after. So what secondary shows up tonight for Bama versus this very questionable passing attack from LSU?
Yeah, I think you make a really good point, too, about how Alabama looked post-Tennessee. We have to accept that at this point we've had 2 different versions of Alabama.
Right.
Pre-Tennessee, post-Tennessee. Post-Tennessee has been a much more, say, disciplined football team, right? Much more what we're used to seeing. And we've seen a much different version of them. Now, that's one of those instances where it might drive fans crazy, but all I can think is if nobody's open, don't force it, right?
I'd like to see what they end up bringing pressure from the left side. They're playing basically sky weak, so it ended up being cover 6.
Nobody
was open. I mean, he maybe had the crosser late, but he had pressure and had to step up. It's smart. Listen, if you can end every possession with a kick, you're at least in a positive, whether it's a punt or a field goal, or you're after you score and you're kicking off. Like, you didn't turn the ball over, and you give your defense an opportunity to go out and make plays the way they're supposed to. So that was a great punt.
Oh man, that is a
really good punt.
Exactly. We've seen a few of those today. I mean, I would argue that obviously Tennessee Georgia was wildly impacted by a punt that went all the way down to the 1 yard line. That didn't make holy cow for us, but there are some plays that did. AJ, you know one thing. If you hear banjos and farm animals, you're either watching the Country Music Awards, check those out on ABC this week, or it's time for Holy Cow. We still got
Boogie!
That's we still got
Boogie. That's our cow.
I don't know. Boogie the cow is ready to give us the top plays, and we score him. Emeka Ibuka manages, gets around the corner, presses the spin button, and spins inside. All right, so it's a nice little move. You know, he's on the sideline. Can he get it done? Presses the spin button there, and then boom. I don't think they actually press the spin button, but still a superhuman play. I got to give it a score. And here's the thing. I'm back to my hard judging ways. I'm with you, AJ. It was all right, but 83. 83. I mean, he's running and spinning. We see that all the time.
Yeah.
All right, you're good.
Yeah,
all right,
you can do that, Fitz.
This one, there's limits. How about this Texas Tech touchdown catch? J.J. Sparkman goes up and away over the defender.
I like it. Tough catch. I mean, playing handsy with the DB right here, goes up and gets it.
Right. But there's
he's wearing gloves.
Oh, brought him
I'm giving him a 77.
77?
77.
All right, okay.
That's it.
We're tough on this. We're tough. You know I'm always tough on punt returns. Let's see if this one stands out any different. Virginia Tech, Tucker Holloway, about to field the punt now. I like this because he makes a little move there. Then he comes up, and then he sees that, makes a move, maybe, and then gets around there. Somebody falls down, and then he just presses the turbo button, lumbering his way to the end zone. See, this is better than most punt returns that I just happen to give like low scores to because I feel like all you do is run fast. This one he had to make some moves, but I'm still going to be tough. I'm going to give it an 80.
I like it. I like it.
Okay.
I'm not going to fight it tonight.
You know what? Let's see if we're tough on our own because this is Marty Smith, our buddy, setting the Guinness Book of World Record for the longest cornhole toss, 76 feet. 76 feet.
Unbelievable. But if we could go back and watch the replay, Marty, the foot's on the line.
Oh, the foot was definitely on the line. The foot was on the line.
It's on the line.
Oh, my God.
You got to stay.
You're giving it a 50.
You got to be behind the line.
Marty, you know your hair's 100 and you're always 100 in our hearts, but I think AJ's right on this one. Foot was on the line. All right, let's go to the next play here, and this is a little Florida action. Florida man, Jaquavion Frazier's about to make a highlight reel catch. Look at that. Just puts the biscuit over the basket and then he hauls it in. Look at it from this play. A nice little adjustment to the ball. I don't know, man. I just, you know what?
And he hurt his wrist.
I'm feeling, I don't know. I'm feeling tough on these things. Like, it was a nice adjustment to an okay football.
It's a fade.
I'm going to give it a 77. He ran a fade. He's been doing that since high school.
Yeah. The ball hits your hand, supposed to catch it. Let's go.
Next one.
Now this one.
Now this. Bo Nix.
This one.
Look at this. Getting tricky with it. All right.
I love it.
All right, AJ, what do you got on that? Look, I mean, he comes over.
Listen, Bo had to get out of Auburn to shine, baby. Bo's in the Heisman talk the way he should. Bo, you get a hundo.
What?
A hundo.
Oh, man. This is so much
Bo's
quarterback.
balling right
now. The amount of quarterback bias here. A quarterback makes a slightly athletic play, gets 100.
He's balling. That was Fitzy's phone.
I just threw it. I'm upset. Totally unrelated note. Any idea where I can get a screen repair done? All right, we're back. College football show. AJ McCarron, Jason Fitz, Alabama, LSU, getting you live looking, but not from my phone because it's cracked. That's fine. It's fine. I'm good. They're having a conversation here as there's been a ruling on the field of a legal forward pass to which Nick Saban laughs.
I think this is going to get overturned. I think his foot was still his back foot, which would have been his right foot, as he was throwing on the run, I believe.
Yeah, because remember in college, if any portion of your body is still back, you're okay. Now, it's funny as we get a replay, because last week I made a joke that I wanted an honest official. I just wanted an official one time to come out and be like, after further review, couldn't see diddly squat, so we're keeping it just like it was, because I feel like we had that in Georgia. So.
Neutral zone. Therefore, there is no foul for legal forward pass.
No foul.
Right. Sign me up, NCAA.
Wait,
I'll come out there.
You want to be an official?
No.
They have like a camp you can do where you can like go out for ESPN and like.
I'll be the highest graded guy there.
It'd be wild to think. Like just I want to work my whole life to be an official just so I can work a Broncos game and I can throw it so they lose. Yeah, that'd be my life. I think I'm peel behind the fourth wall here. Our great producer Luna just said something in my ears, but I was busy talking about the Broncos. Oh, we're taking you to the Auburn Mississippi State game. Two teams that, oh man, that helmet though is fire.
Hey, but I will tell you what. Look at old Cadillac Williams.
Cadillac Williams on the sideline.
Dude, how awesome is it? And my buddy who I played with in Cincinnati, he's a good friend of mine. Love him to death. Jason Campbell, famous, quarterback for Auburn back in the day.
You mean famous former Raiders quarterback?
Yeah,
yep.
Raiders, the Washington Commanders now. But he made a great post on Instagram that basically talked about wanting to see the fan base get behind Cadillac Williams during this tough time, like him being the interim guy, being forced into this situation, the firing of other coaches, assistant coaches that got let go too that nobody wants to talk about. They had multiple, offensive coaches be let go at the same time. So, ball is on the ground. But it's awesome to see Cadillac get this opportunity, and I hope Auburn plays well while he's the interim. I'm excited for him.
100%, and you're right. When it means as much as we talked earlier about coaches that understand the culture, right? Yeah. When you are a legend and you were stepping into that sideline role, man, it's hard not to root for you. By the way, quick update: Notre Dame has just scored to take a 6-0 pending the extra point lead over number 4, Clemson.
Go.
We also have my Clemson just shaved. It's just. Y'all can at me. Go ahead. It's a long-spirited debate.
Nope.
Out of bounds there.
And
Alabama.
From an offensive standpoint, Bama's struggling, Fitzy. Like,
what's happening? Why?
Well, it seems like every time we get to watch them, they're pinned back in.
Yeah.
They're having to drive the full length of the field. I don't know what their field or the possession so far on the field is, but they've literally been pinned way back in their territory.
I feel like if we turn two things that we talk about every week into a shot game, one would be that I always steal from you. I'm the one that says it every time.
They just false start again.
Take what the defense gives you. Eventually, they'll give you the game. I've learned that from you. The other thing that we talk about every single week is, man, you have got to stay ahead on down and distance and early downs.
Got to.
And it's just, I watched it all day, and the number of times you see teams in 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8. Yep. It's just statistically, if you look at the numbers, the difference between 3rd and 5 and 3rd and 7 is actually staggering, right? Mm-hmm. So it just, you look at this situation, it was already 3rd and 10, now you have a false start, it's 3rd and 15. The numbers will tell you this is such a low probability play you're asking for.
Listen, I'll tell you how crazy it is. All right. So you usually break it down from 3rd and short. All right, you have a section of those plays. Your 3rd and short plays are going to be, you'll probably have 3rd and short yardage, probably 5 to 7 plays. 3rd, and you'll go from there to 3rd and 2 and 4. You'll probably have another 5 to 7 plays. Then you'll go from 3rd and 5 to 7 range, and you're going to have, again, 5 to 7 plays. After that, when you get to 3rd and 8, for a lot of OCs, like, you might have 3 plays tops. Like, especially 10 plus. If you're in the 10 plus range, which they've been multiple times tonight, because they're not staying ahead of the sticks, and they keep having these false starts that are absolutely killing them. You only have 1 or 2 calls for those types of down and distances all night long.
Efficiency matters, and when it doesn't happen, it has us saying, bruh. Hey, AJ! Wow, I can't believe I did that. What time is it?
It's bruh time.
It's time for bruh, delivered by Pizza Hut. You know what we do. We show you some of the plays that made us go, bruh. And we start, and we're not talking about my takes either today. We start with this guy.
Oh.
Bruh, that's a lot of mustard.
That's terrible.
Why is that terrible? You're more a ketchup guy, right?
No, I mean, I like mustard, but just eating mustard plain, I only do that when you have cramps.
All right, now give me that. Plain yellow mustard all day, every day.
Cramping on the field.
Take it. Oh, does that really help with cramps?
Yeah, mustard and pickles, baby.
I'm going to try next time I'm running across campus. How about this? Bro, with the Butterfingers, like Halloween was the other day. We don't need.
Oh, no!
You got to hold on to the football. I mean,
see, they would have won right there.
They would have, but they didn't. Oh, this is never going to end for us today. We're just going to keep going at it over and over and over again. Head out Purdue, the train. It's an engineering school. They're good at building things, but apparently they had some issues. A little engine that couldn't. The train sort of broke down. It was getting there.
Yeah, well, it went from gas to electric, and they didn't have enough charging stations, so.
Purdue, somewhere there's a bunch of engineering kids that came out and fixed that, I'm sure. What about the wind? You can't fix the wind. Ohio State, Northwestern, not much you can do about that up there. The wind was ruthless, and look at that. Up.
Awful.
No, you're a golfer. You ever have a day like that on the golf course?
For sure.
Yeah, that's why I don't play golf. And, Bo, the no look over the head.
Oh, no.
Bruh.
Hey, do you know, Bo, if you would have completed that, it would have been the Heisman Trophy sent straight to the house.
Yeah, Bo Nix, he giveth and Bo taketh away. That's some bruh delivered by Pizza Hut. Bruh. Admittedly tough to read the plays with my cracked phone screen. Also, you look at it again, man, that play was pretty close for Bo, I'm saying.
That would have been sweet.
We just kicked off here for Florida State, Miami, getting you a little live look in. It's the college football show. He's AJ McCarron. I'm Jason Fitz. You're just hanging out with us. Shame on you where you've been every week. We're here from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern. Also, you can you can watch AJ with Scooby Mageza tonight at 11 o'clock for the wrap-up. Essentially, every time you watch something on ESPN and you think, wow, what would it look like if people less professional did it? You can come hang out with us on digital, and we do that. So there we go. Florida State, Miami.
I don't know if it's less professional. We just have more fun.
That's a better way to say it. I always say, like, if you just made Nagandi have half a bottle of vodka and then do the job, it'd be just like me. Mike Norvell, jibber-jabbering with the officials, waiting on this play. It is Florida State ball, obviously.
They got a good crowd there tonight for this game. And I love to see that because for so many years, when Miami fell off, dude, it was a lot of it because they had no fan support, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, like, couldn't get the students to the game. And then the surrounding area, the community just didn't have the support. That's the one thing I love about this, bringing Mario in, is he brought that support back, right? The community support, the campus support from the students, the faculty, like everybody's excited about him being there. And man, I just hope he's successful there. I love Coach Cristobal. He's an unbelievable dude.
I think there are two things that you pay for when you bring in a head coach. The first thing you pay for is relevance, and the second thing is results. So if they can give you a pop in relevance while you build the results,
you're right.
Going to be just fine. That's sort of the approach I long time said with Harbaugh. Like, he made Michigan incredibly relevant in that moment, again, on such a national, every day we had to talk about Harbaugh. Then you trust that the results are eventually going to come. School like Penn State, James Franklin made you relevant. I'm not sure the results have necessarily come. So it's a process. I think Cristobal is such a big name that immediately buys relevance.
Yeah. 100%.
The other sideline,
oh,
look at
big
that.
Shot, touchdown.
Got him. How hard is it to just extend that hard for the ball and keep going stride by stride?
Yeah, that's an unbelievable catch by Wilson right there. He's not a very big dude, but man, can he fly. Ontario Wilson, unbelievable. They ran a little play action pass from the gun, deep post over the middle to Ontario, and that was an unbelievable catch on the run, and in for 6 right there.
And that this game speaks to sort of the other side of my relevance versus results. Mike Norvell, while I love the hire, as we talked about earlier, didn't come in with such a huge national name that everybody was clamoring. So he needs results. Now we go to South Carolina taking on Vanderbilt.
What kind of helmets does Vandy have on tonight?
Yeah, the weird thing about Vandy's helmets, lovey Vandy, is like the V is always too small. It just looks like the whole V needs to always like.
What are they? Should they go to like? Oh, what a ball there!
What a throw!
What a throw!
Get
in! There we go.
What are we looking at? Look at that! Like y'all, this is actually live. We're just lucky. We are just that lucky.
Hey, if you want your team to score, tell them to put their game on. First play. That's 2 games in a row they've scored.
Can I tell you a true story about Vanderbilt football? During the Bobby Johnson was the head coach. Bobby Johnson was the head coach. I was living next door to a linebackers coach. He left me tickets every Saturday in Nashville at the time. I went to a game. There's a big 4th down. I was standing up. I was in the family and friends section. Standing up, I'm like making the noise like you're supposed to do when it's 4th down for the other team. You're trying to make this noise. Somebody turned around and looked at me. He's like, "Hey, will you shut up and sit down?" Only football stadium I've ever been told to sit down in when I was doing the right thing for the home crowd. Only at Vandy.
It's a little different atmosphere.
A little bit, yeah. But you know what? They've got a new regime, new money being spent on new facilities, new stadium. There's a lot of there's been a huge tone change. I'll give them credit for that. One place that never needs a tone change, Death Valley. We all know that. Although I don't, I'm just going to be honest. Like the fade in of the Tiger Eye is kind of weird to me at halftime or at half-field, midfield.
Daggone, boys.
Oof.
That's a hit.
Let's see. Oh, that breaks our streak.
That's fine. I don't care.
Could have been a pick 6 for a touchdown. That would have worked.
Yeah.
For those of you that don't know, AJ McCarron could come in wearing a substantial amount of bling. As which hand do they all? When you have multiple championship rings, he has 3 of them. Can you get one molded for each finger? Do you size them differently so that you can wear them all? Because like my fingers are all different sizes.
No, I think I got them all for the either ring or middle finger.
Okay. No one for the thumb sort of approach.
Nah.
Okay.
I could still put it on there, just be on the tip, but.
Yeah, so I have a buddy, shout out to my buddy Tim Nichols. He's nominated for a bunch of CMA awards as a songwriter. And he's won some Grammys. And we were writing a song years ago, and we were arguing about a lyric. And he was like, "I'm going to go get some water." We're sitting at his house. He comes back in with this water at his house. And he also had, he'd taken all his Grammys and awards and put them under his arm. And he just set them down on the table. And he's like, "So about that lyric." Tim, close friend, we were having a good time. I think you should bring in the rings, and the next time we're having an argument on Rankings Reaction, you just set them out on the table and be like, "How many of these do you have?"
I could definitely do that. I'd have to. So I gave 3 of them. So they send you. Back in the day, the BCS would give you 1 for winning it, national championship ring. And then we had SEC championship rings, and then national championship rings. So I have a ton of them, but I gave the national championship rings to 3 guys that meant the most to me, really helped bring me up as a child and mold me into the person I am today. So I gave 1 to my grandfather, who passed away not too long ago, and then my uncle has 1 and my dad has 1. So
it's amazing.
I'd have to go back and say, "Hey, I need them this week," but I could definitely do that.
Or just call Alabama and be like, "It's on ESPN. Send me 3 more." Don't they just have those lying around at the school somewhere? They just send them to you?
I'm sure.
I think that's the way that works. I will tell you, I will never know what it's like to win a national championship award. But when I was in music, I didn't get the record plaques that you can get when you're part of those when I was touring, because I was like, I don't care. Then when I got out of the music business, I went back. The only difference is when you're touring and you do something that's significant, they usually just give you the plaque.
Right.
When you're no longer touring, you have to buy them. So I was like, I want these. And then I was like, oh, God,
I don't want him for that.
Which only helps us if we have an argument about country music. All right, this is what I know. We're going to have plenty of arguments for the rest of the night because Alabama's playing, and that means we got football to watch. Come back right here at 11 p.m., obviously, so you can hang out with Scooby and AJ for the wrap-up. In the meantime, it takes a whole village of people behind the scenes that are incredibly talented to let us be idiots on camera. We appreciate every single one of them. Thank you for watching the College Football Show. He's AJ McCarron. I'm Jason Fitz.
Roll Tide!
I was so wrong.